You're listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast with Shane Chapman.
Now, let's talk about in Canada. Like, we're here in Regina and the Bridge City, some of the harshest climates known to man. Like, we literally can go from, like this last week, we've been hitting like almost 40 degrees Celsius, which is like 110 Fahrenheit.
Yep.
But in the winter, literally in February, it can hit minus 40.
Yep.
Which is minus 40 Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. So the extremes are ridiculous. How many kids have licked your steel framing so far and had their tongues ripped off?
Oh, yeah.
Four.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the con.
We saved three. The tongue on the fourth.
we left the other one as an example.
Aside from licking it, potentially, how does steel hold up in these extreme climates? Because it's a real question.
Yep, absolutely. And it does. The powder coating, you're going to need to cut it. You're going to need to make sure you touch up the cut pieces, file them down. If there's scrapes or dents or whatever that may happen from junior. Oh, I got to get in there.
Yep. Yeah. Like swallow the mic.
They can't hear you.
Right out college days. When you're a radio DJ, I'm talking. What do you?
Family show.
Yeah.
Family show.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like dents, scratches, they're going to happen. So touch them up. So outside of that, the powder coating and the way they make the cold rolled steel stands up to plus 40 and minus 40. You can get really, really hot, and it does get hot, and it gets really, really cold. But there's little to no movement whatsoever.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have any of the stats on like how much it changes? Somebody asked me that the other day.
Yep.
And I was like, oh boy, less than wood.
I'm gonna get a call from an engineer soon from the city of Regina, and he's probably gonna have some of those questions. And I know that somewhere in our archives we've got that. I don't know. I don't have the exact percentages, but I know that testing wise, steel and all these steel guys, like all the companies that do cold rolled steel, will have that data as well. And I can just say, 16 gauge cold rolled steel. What do you got?
Send it to me.
We don't move it. It doesn't move. It never moves. Well, put powder coating on it, and you get extra heat, and it gets really hot. Is there a situation where you can have expansion there?
Right.
No. From what I've been told.
Okay. Stable.
That's really good, because I was talking about that when we were talking about putting a PVC deck board on treated lumber, and I was like, it's moving, like the PVC is moving at one rate, the wood's moving at another rate, and I was like, the advantage to steel is that you remove one of those equations, right? It's like now it's just because we've had screws shear off in PVC, and we've had a bunch of different conversations about is it the PVC that's moving, or is it the wood that's moving, or is it both that are moving, and that's why the screws are shearing off. And so
we've had some even experiences with to reference a Decker's decking product that has very little thermal expansion contraction. Yes. And so people are like, I would like to use it because my joints don't open, like my miters will stay tight.
Yes.
They use it, and the odd person is like, oh no, they did open. But typically what's happening is it's the framing drying out and pulling things apart too, right? Is a potential thing with that. Yep. You put it on a steel frame that's not going to have that expansion contraction, at least not to that extent. And that's your best shot at having everything kind of stay tight, just to use a frame that's going to stay stable and consistent.
So one of the reasons that, Simcoe uses it, I think he uses it a lot anyway, but he has the decorators and has that mineral base. It doesn't shrink, doesn't move.
Yep.
I love that idea, because you have the ability to combat any issues with wood with the steel, so nothing moves.
Yeah.
So when he puts the frame together and you pop together, you're not going to get that call saying my frame moved and
my miter's open.
Right.
And so just to clarify, if people are wondering too, because you guys do have a decking product as well, you can use the Fortress Evolution framing with any decking product. Like it doesn't matter any composite, any PVC, any wood,
porcelain tile,
whatever. What you put on top, it doesn't need to be married to your stuff. Like it can be used with anything.
The warranty is open for anything. There's a lot of application. Yeah, and I say porcelain tile. There's some pavers out there now that are like the water absorbent paver.
Yep.
Seen these technology now? It's mostly for driveways and walkways and whatnot, but I have a customer that's trying this in Toronto, and we're getting close. The final install is probably going to be a month away or so.
Okay.
But he's putting this drainage tile on top of it. Now he's got a fiberglass underlayment that he's put on top to allow for the water to dissipate off to the side, and then much like a Trex bladder system kind of thing.
Right.
But it's specifically to let the water go, but he's putting actual tile on it. So we only had to go to 100. I think we went to 125 because he wanted some extra on it for PSF, but it wasn't really that much more in terms of, and I'm looking forward to it. Stepping on a stone deck on Evolution. It's going to be all over Instagram.
That's cool.
So yeah, and that's where you can get 24-inch on center spans. Because the actual tile itself will allow for 24-inch on certain applications.
Right.
So then you would use that's where that clear ledger board comes in when you're installing it, right?
Right.
And then you can just 24-inch on center and a lot less material. So it's cool.
It would be really good for ground level decks, right? Because you have no rot on the underside of that. You could keep it close to the ground, and then basically we could be done with patios. We wouldn't have to ever look at another one.
No one wants a patio.
Right.